Right.
It was part of my job. I had to, you know, I'm touching people, making contact with people. I'm helping them facilitate movement in various ways that they were having trouble with, helping them try to get out of a chair.
Yeah.
When a person, it's a big problem when somebody, an elderly person who's had problems with their balance, falls and breaks a hip.
Yeah.
And then a big part of the problem is that they're afraid of falling. And besides the fact that they've had the surgery and they're stiff and maybe they weren't in such good condition anyhow, then a physical therapist is in the hospital, the rehab unit, trying to get this person up and going again because they might die if they don't start walking.
Yeah.
Basically, because all the systems will start to deteriorate and shut down just from the lack of activity.
Yeah.
So you don't have the luxury under those circumstances to be so concerned about, well, am I touching the person right according to the way my teacher taught me how to do it? And I noticed that some teachers in training programs, I won't mention any individuals, but when
call them out right now by name.
When I was coming up, there were teachers who were so imposing.
Yeah.
And they had their own, they may have been skilled with their hands and working with people in the way that they had developed, but it was just too, I will not use the word that I was thinking of. They were too rigid about how they taught, and people who were studying with them to be teachers ended up, from my estimation, especially the people who were too concerned about what the teacher thought about everything, they ended up, at the end of that time, being unable to teach effectively because they were afraid of not doing it right. And that is, I don't want to teach that. You know, if I'm working with somebody and they end up, and people end up doing this, even though I try to get away from it. They want to come in and they want to learn what's good posture, so I can walk around and be stiff all the time. And of course, they don't think of it that way, but that's what they're asking for. And to be told that, well, basically, I can give you certain principles that have to do with how we're constructed, and that have been built into basic principles of body mechanics, and I'll teach you that, and then to apply those principles you have to do some exploration and become aware and notice what you're doing and not be so afraid. I love it. I teach people to slouch, but I want them to do it consciously, at least most of the time, so that when they're slumping, they become aware of it, and it's not a bad thing to notice that. So, I mean, that's generally my approach. I want to get away from the formalism.